Hello, and welcome to how to make a grid for your drawing. We're going to be making a 1-inch grid, which is half an inch larger than the half-inch grid that you should have made across your drawing. So, you're getting 15 points for this grid. Those points are based on the lightness of your lines, the straightness of your lines, your letters and numbers, and the correct measurements. If your measurements are not correct, your grid will not work. So we want to make sure that we make light lines on our paper so that we can erase them when we're done. So you're going to need to use either a very sharp or a mechanical pencil for this part. Just like you did on your half-inch grid, you'll make a mark for each inch, keeping in mind that you might need a larger piece of paper from the paper rack if your photo is bigger than others. Remember, we need 2 points of reference to make a straight line, and make sure that you start exactly at the beginning of your ruler measurements both times, or your grid will be inaccurate. Again, this is very similar to what you just did, only this time you're doing 1-inch marks instead of half-inch marks. Make sure you take time to line your ruler up and don't be in a hurry. It's going to be hard not to press really hard when you start, like this line. I want you guys to be able to see what I'm doing, but for the rest of my lines that are going to be going across my drawing, I want to barely touch my paper. Just dust my paper enough so that I can just see those lines and they'll be easy to erase. Now I know you guys probably can't see these lines that I'm drawing, so I'll go ahead and do my verticals now by making 2 sets of lines, or 2 sets of marks, that is, the other direction at every inch so that I can make my marks down. So 1 set near the top, 1 set near the bottom, every inch. You might have to try this a couple times to get a good grid with light lines and accurate lines, but it's definitely worth redoing a grid in the end, because if you try to do a grid drawing with incorrect grid lines, you're going to get a really distorted image. Again, I'm keeping these lines really light, so it might be hard for you to see them on this movie, but you'll see why I want to do that when I demo the drawing process further. So you'll make all of your lines vertical and horizontal, and you want to make sure that you have enough for your letters and your numbers, as well as your grid drawing. So if I know that I have 8 squares here, I'm going to label these exactly the same as I have my drawing labeled. And I've already labeled my letters here, so I'm going to do my letters in the same order down the side. It doesn't matter if you have letters on top and numbers on the side, as long as they're the same on both your grid and your drawing. Now when you're done, we'll be able to move on to the next step when I get back. Don't start going crazy on these because we still have one more sketchbook assignment to do before you start, but make sure that you have a 1/2 inch grid on your photograph And even if you don't have a photograph, you can work on making that 1-inch grid worth 15 points on a blank piece of paper so you're ready when you do get your photograph. I'll leave these examples up here and I'll see you tomorrow.